Hey, this is Sahil. You're listening to the Studio Twentyone Show, where we get to learn from the people designing the best Bitcoin products. Today, we're learning from Skyler, the founder of Finite Supply, which is a Bitcoin design agency. Before that, he was doing a bunch of great work at companies like Fedi and Kraken and Walmart and a bunch of others. And I consistently walk away from my discussion, my chats with Skyler, super inspired about the work I'm currently working on, but even stuff that I haven't even started yet, including things like this podcast. So I really hope you enjoy. Keep listening and let me know what you think.
Cool. Yeah, dude. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having
Skyler.
me.
Yeah, we've been friends for a while, design friends, Twitter, that kind of thing.
How long? How long
how
has
long?
it been? Like
5 years? I don't know.
5-ish
Maybe
years?
5 years on Twitter. And I finally got to meet you once in wherever we met somewhere, and that was fun.
Yeah.
And now this is loud. Yeah, we're in Vegas. Yeah, we walked through the Venetian. But yeah, dude, thanks for jumping on. Okay, so I've been curious I've never asked you about your background before. And I know you worked at a bunch of like insanely talented companies. Maybe we just start there,
Yeah.
I guess.
For sure.
Is there anything you don't want to mention in terms of companies?
No.
No, yeah, because I think you were at Walmart Labs, you were at Kraken,
Yep.
Fedi, and now you're doing your own design agency. So how did you even get into design in the first place, like period?
So I started doing design I always like I just would like edit photos in Photoshop, like with just like, bootlegged early Photoshop, probably like, I guess like 15, 20 years ago. Eventually started making like flyers and stuff for church group, high school, camps, like designing t-shirts for the camp. And then I realized like, okay, I want to go to school for design. And my parents were I don't know. But eventually they're like, okay, this seems good. You seem like you like to do it, whatever. Yeah. So I looked at all these different schools, and the private art schools are like just super, super expensive. I had friends that went to, like older friends that went to them, and they're like, don't go to college. And I was like, well, I kind of want to go, like I want to learn, like I want to do typography. I want to do like all these like art style graphic design classes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I studied graphic design and tried to like, for all of my elective type classes, tried to do a lot of HTML and like web building, and like just to understand how to transfer like the raw like design to tech. Because a lot of what my design classes were like print, making books, doing screen printing. So like I wanted to have like a balanced craft, I guess. So I should probably shorten this.
No.
Then
Not at all.
One of my last classes was super cool. We had to go get an internship at a company, and like we had to go actually get a job. So we had to like brand ourselves, create a resume, like create your own site, like create a portfolio, like a printed portfolio.
Yeah.
And then we had to go find a company that was hiring and actually get a job and work there like, I don't know, 15 hours a week or whatever. And it was allowed to be paid too, which was cool. So I found a job from a friend, and it was like this very,
Down here?
it was this background check website.
Yeah.
Which was kind of scammy, but I learned wherever you
You
want
can
to
go down.
I learned about, like, I was on this optimization team, and we did a lot of split testing, like of the funnel. And I learned about how all the stuff I learned in school was like the designer knows best. The designer understands legibility and color hierarchy and type hierarchy and all these things. The designer knows best about aesthetics. Everyone else needs to just like fall in line with what the designer does. But what I learned with all the split testing is none of that's like actually true when it comes to actually selling something or like converting.
Yeah.
So like when you try to apply the best style to things, it typically doesn't actually like convince them to buy. Usually like a bright red button would help someone convert much better than a beautiful button or whatever.
Okay.
So it was an interesting like entry into like the world of actually working in design, because it made me realize like design is actually really quantifiable, and you can test how effective designs are based on whatever your goals are. So it like made me very kind of scientific in my design approach. But
Because it's interesting because there is a different, obviously, there's
Yeah.
a different worldview, like the maybe the linear or the Airbnb or whatever, maybe even Apple, right?
Yeah.
Just the like you said, designer knows best.
Yeah.
Taste instead of measuring
Yeah.
things.
No, I know. So I'm really sympathetic to both actually, because I think it's true that designers know best in many things, but there's also like, I kind of like have this idea of Socratic design, which is more the whole product experience requires us to seek truth about like what actually solves the problem best for the user.
Yeah.
And designers like kind of have a limited, they don't always know that. So there needs to be like a humility, and like Socrates was like his known for this idea that his statement that all he knew is that he knew nothing.
Yeah.
But so I think designers should have some like humility, should be creative, but also should have this humility. I think the humility actually leads to like more creative solutions.
Interesting.
So anyways, like,
I mean, that's kind of related, not to go down that rabbit hole, but like we were just on a Bitcoin panel here in Vegas. That's why it's so loud. I don't know if you can hear this, hopefully not, but it's a little loud here. We're in Vegas for Bitcoin 25, but we were talking about all the bits and sats stuff. And I think one of your consistent comments on Twitter was like, show me the research
Yeah.
on this versus just
just your
opining on
opinion.
it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like really when I talk or when I see the Square guys, when I see the Square designers talking about this, they're kind of just like, I hate sats. I'm like, well, that's just not good enough for me to like make a decision. I think like we can do like make heuristic judgments about like what we think is best, but I don't know. I think it's just really good to just talk to people and observe people using products. I really don't think people should be against that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, especially in Bitcoin, it would help a lot of products if engineers watched people use the products.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think I think they rarely do this because engineers are like, well, they hear about it, a user like getting confused. They're just like, well, the user's using it wrong.
Skill issue.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not the right way to think about it.
Or maybe another way to think about it, and tell me if you disagree, is like you can think that way, but you will lose in the market then. Like
Yeah, you're going to lose to
Yeah.
someone that figures out how to actually like
yeah,
build for human beings.
Yeah.
Not just engineers.
gotcha. Okay, so you were doing that. Oops, sneak through. No worries, thank you. Trying to get through crowds
I was
here.
doing yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, you were doing that in college. So okay, yeah. One thing I've noticed from talking to a lot of people, like I think even Jed, another friend, I think he has also like a traditional graphic design background. I could be wrong.
He was the ones that was like one of my friends that was older
Yeah.
and was like, yeah, I went to art school and it was amazing. He's like, but don't go to college. I'm glad I didn't listen to him because like all the skills I got in college, like I had to like learn typography, and like a lot of boot camps don't teach you typography.
No,
So
yeah.
like having to go through that was amazing.
And I'm honestly really jealous that of you guys. And there were other people that have been in podcasts too, like Steven, who's been through a traditional design background. And I feel like I've kind of just had to be scrappy and like understand what I like and what I don't like and what's
Yeah.
good and what's bad. But
Yeah.
if you ask me to be like the foundations, I feel like I'm kind of lacking as a person. And I wish I had more of that.
You can always get it.
You can always get it, yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, I mean, everyone has a different path, and I don't think it's essential, but I just look back at it, I'm like, that was like an amazing time. Like I
Yeah.
really loved all of that stuff. But it's better to be doing real work in the real world than like fake work. But I don't know, towards the end, like one of my projects was so fun. It was they found, or they had this list of businesses in the area,
Yeah.
and they're like, you guys have to go pick a business and then rebrand it.
Yeah.
Like actually with them. And so they like put us up in these groups, and then I went in, I rebranded a mortuary. So like where they like dispose of dead bodies and stuff or bury them. So that was like an incredible project. So
Do you ever look back on that and like see the quality of the work and you're like,
I've looked back and it's actually pretty decent stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed by a lot of it. So that's kind of cool.
it's part of the journey.
Yeah.
So wait, how did you get from that to like product?
So the job, the split testing job right out of it was like optimization.
Yeah.
So it's not really product, but during that I was just like, man, I really want to work on something that's not just hijacking people's like psychology to order something.
Sorry, was that Aspiration or no?
No.
Something else.
It was, I don't want to say the
Yeah,
name of
yeah,
it,
yeah, don't
but
say it.
Aspiration was after,
Oh, okay.
which isn't even a company anymore.
Yeah, I remember that. I think that's when I knew you was Walmart, previously Aspiration.
Yeah,
When
okay,
you
so
first
then-
started interacting.
So Aspiration was like a fintech that was like a socially conscious kind of ESG friendly fintech, which is funny because it was there that I really realized like, okay, Bitcoin is what I want. And Bitcoin is the solution to people's frustration with the financial system, not like ESG. But it was there that I really like fused this concept of optimization, design, and products because we were able to.
I'm thinking we just we're walking around here, we're trying to figure out where to go. I'm thinking we just keep taking circles here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's quiet, it's
cool.
nice. It's
I agree. There at Aspiration, I was on this growth squad, and we did a lot of work on the sign up flow for the bank account. And like, I don't know, most people know how like those sign up flows are so horrible, and most designers don't like working on them. But dude, I actually had a ton of fun because every step in that flow is measurable, and you can actually like see how much money you are either making or saving the company with design decisions because it's all measured. And so like if people are signing up, and you know how much people are spending on ads, like you can calculate, okay, if we made a 2% efficiency or 5%, then we just saved the company X amount of dollars. So
versus like a rebrand, which is a little more squishy, maybe.
It's 100% squishy. So I think it's like a really fulfilling job that a lot of designers don't actually get to experience because they're so far from the numbers or whatever. But I don't know, I just found it very enjoyable to be working on a team being like, oh, this like design decision actually led to like $1 million or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, that's fun. And that's something I actually want to bring to a lot of Bitcoin companies.
Yes.
I don't know if they're ready, but I think it would be so cool to have an optimization squad.
Hey, just a really quick break to tell you about the Studio 21 newsletter. If you're interested in Bitcoin and design, every month I highlight a few key pieces of Bitcoin or design related news or education. I think you're really going to find it valuable. So if you're interested, take a look. Go to sahilc.com/newsletter, give it a subscribe, and look forward to see you there. Now back to the episode.
So that was actually my question was going to be, so now you're running Finite Supply, a design agency, you're working with basically Bitcoin companies. I'm not sure if it's non-Bitcoin companies, but at the very least, a lot of Bitcoin companies.
They're all Bitcoiners.
All Bitcoiners. We all know them. I wonder if you could apply that same playbook, and not to get in, the weeds on numbers, but like you could do value-based pricing.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Charge a heck of a lot more, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like eventually I want to get there where it's like, look, guys, I can reskin your UI or whatever, like, or give you a new logo, but like. Which I love doing though. I love doing that. But I think it's like strategically, it's like, okay, well, do you guys know like where people are falling off in your flows? Even that is like, most people are like, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? You have this whole team of people working on this problem, not the drop off problem. You have this whole people like working on your whole group, like working on whatever your company's doing. And like, what if like 50% of people don't actually get to experience the like thing you're spending like 90% of your time doing?
Wow.
Or 100% of your time doing. So eventually, one dream of mine is to work with Bitcoin companies who are in the right stage to start measuring their products.
Yeah.
And then making like optimizing their products. So like running tests to see if we can fix like really bad drop off points that are crucial in the product journey or the user journey. I mean, a lot of Bitcoin companies are like kind of interested in this idea, but I just feel like they're very far from it. But I think it would be so much more fun because like I can say, look, like we saved you like, I don't know, like $2 million because all these people are now like, engaging with your product in a certain way.
Yeah.
Or we saved people from falling off. So like, I really like being able to do that. It just feels like very justifiable work.
100%. And especially as like we've talked about there's not a lot of founders in Bitcoin that really care about design. And this is like an example of, I mean, even if you don't care about the quote unquote like visual stuff, this is a clear sell. It's like,
I know,
guys,
it's easy sell.
It's a super easy sell.
I mean, the only real risk, like one real risk is like, let's say you do these experiments and they don't actually lead to like, making a lot of money. But at the same time, you did gain knowledge about like, oh, that decision, these are the real effects of that decision. So the whole thing is like become a learning product organization, which goes back to this Socratic idea of like, what is truth? What is true? How do we discover it? And you discover it. Like, there's a couple ways to discover it. So
Yeah.
anyways, we'll see. We'll see if companies come interested in that. I think I need to start writing or talking about that more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because there's not a lot of people. Just in general, there's not a lot of design content. But
yeah.
But yeah, back to the so Finite Supply, because this is honestly what I've been most curious about for a while.
Yeah.
Just what have you been liking, and what's maybe we'll start with what you've been liking, but I also want to hear about like what's been the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Because it's so different than what I'm doing, right? I'm just at a single company. It's what you've done in the past. What's good and bad, I guess.
I mean, I really love not having a boss. Like, that is just unbelievably great.
Yeah.
Being your own boss is just, I'm like, I guess I've always wanted this. I didn't realize it. Like, when I look back at all my jobs, I'm like, man, I was always like frustrated. And like, being frustrated at your job is like kind of like, that's not a good employee if they're
No, it's
frustrated,
horrible.
right?
Yeah.
Like, being my own boss is like my favorite thing. And like, the lack of meetings I have is amazing. Like, dude, I just have these days where it's like they're open and allows me to work and like focus on things. And then from the work type stuff, my favorite things are like, right now, delivering like foundational brand work is really fun. Like, for newer, because there's just so many new companies in Bitcoin that like they're trying to figure things out. And I love like giving them like a solid identity, like a solid logo, solid typography and colors.
I mean, just off the top of my head, you've done like Ocean, Open Secret, Bitcoin Bond Company. I mean, probably a ton more.
SNI.
Yeah, SNI, Social Nakamoto Institute.
I should have these memorized.
No,
better.
it's all
I
good.
did a lot. So I had like 22 clients last year, and maybe more. Honestly, I can't remember. Oh, I did a bunch of stuff for HRF too. So
Yes,
like
HRF.
Finney Freedom Prize, and yeah. So anyways, and a bunch of side events that like no one knows about. But I love those like foundational brand design projects, because it's kind of like there's no limits and like there's no real risk. It's just like, it's just fun, creative thing. So that's fun.
Do you ever feel, okay, maybe this is more on the negative side, but do you ever feel imposter syndrome about, because you're going from zero to something and you have to deliver that, it's going to be public, your name is kind of attached to it. How do you feel about that? Because I definitely feel that.
I don't think of it in terms of imposter. I just think of it in terms of like, is it good enough? Am I doing it? Is it good enough? Like, it's more about the quality rather than who I am. And maybe it's because there's not like a lot of competition that I don't feel the imposter thing, but I just know for a fact there's like way better designers than me. Of course there's better designers. Like, everyone's like on a spectrum, but see, I don't really think of myself in relation to other designers, but more about the quality of the work. That sort of thinking really does drive me to like make sure that like what I deliver, I am proud of, because one thing I've been thinking about too is like everything I do should be postable so I could get more work.
Yes.
So I'm like, it has to be good enough for people to look at and be like, I want that. So that's kind of my standard. I mean, there's other standards I have too, which is like, it has to last these people a while. As long as it possibly can, these identities last. So long-winded way of answering that question, but.
And I think you said you're doing product work also, right? It's not just brand.
For sure. Yeah, I love, like, there's a couple different projects too. Like, I mean, honestly, like when people are like, hey, I made this UI, I vibe coded it or whatever, and it's like horrible. And they're like, can you just like clean it up and make sure it's good?
Yeah.
I like that too. It's like almost therapeutic, you're like.
You have a starting point.
Yeah, like because sometimes getting to the starting point is like the hardest part. And I mean, honestly, I like all the types of work, but like, it's really fun to just get there and like clean things up. Because a lot of the times these businesses know like their problems and customer problems like more than I do just coming in, because they've been working on it for a while. So I kind of like when all of that work done and then I come in and I'm like, okay, let's make this really nice. So yeah, that's fun too.
So are you in the weeds personally yourself these days, or are you kind of like mostly almost managing, or?
It's a combo of both. I mean, it kind of depends on the project, but I pretty much understand everything that's happening in every project. But there are, like, I do have people that are like better at me than UI.
Yeah.
That I'm like, hey, here's the company, here's the problem, here's what I want it to look like. And then they go and make it. And it's just faster and better than me. So I pay them in Bitcoin to do that, I have people to do like UI stuff. I have people that do brand stuff. I have people that do like kind of creative and like web, like marketing web type stuff. But I kind of also like, I think it's better to have two designers on projects more than just one, because having two like allows, I don't know, it's just a good, I've just found that there's like more ideas can flow in that way.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I kind of like to bring people in just for the idea, just have like someone to bounce ideas off, not just have me by myself. So
So
yeah.
this is a crazy question. Have you used AI tooling to be that bouncing off at all, or are you mostly kind of just
Dude, I should.
yeah,
But I haven't yet. So like one thing, I guess, so you asked me about the positives.
yeah.
One negative thing is I think like the last year I just said yes to is like a lot because I was afraid. You know, I was like first time I started my own business, I had no clue what was going to happen. And then I think I took on so much that I wasn't able to like step back and actually think about like what is the best way to do all of this and like the best strategy.
Like to run the business, you mean?
Yeah, and just make sure it like runs well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it ran well enough. Like it was good, but there's questions like that. Like, how can I optimize my workflows to have better output? I think
Yeah.
would be something I want to do in the next year is like be way more strategic about that type of stuff.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know if this is like cliche, but it's kind of like design, but it's more like org design or
Yeah, I need to, but designing for yourself is like the hardest thing. I find.
yeah.
Like it's so much, for some reason, it's like so much easier to design for other people. Like I could probably design someone else's portfolio site better than I could design mine. I still haven't even designed my portfolio site. So
Like Finite Supply, you mean? Or-
yeah, it's just like a site with logos on it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe, I don't know if it's not broken, don't fix it. I don't know, but I think maybe.
Both of us are in a unique place where we know people to,
Yeah.
I don't know if distribution is the right word, but we kind of have
Yeah.
distribution.
I mean, yeah, the network is like good enough and it can, I think, support us for a long time. So,
Yeah.
and I love like working in Bitcoin too, because all these people that we've made friends with are saving in this money that gives them more and more purchasing power. And they have desires and things they want to build and like things they want to design. And being a designer and being friends with Bitcoiners is like an insane life hack because there's always going to be work. Like,
Yeah.
so it's just mind blowing that there's not more designers that haven't figured this out.
Well, really, just to be honest with you, that's kind of what I've been, and we were talking about this. I've been thinking about this more and more. I think it makes total sense. So actually, okay, one place I'm curious about, and obviously only share whatever you're comfortable sharing, but like, I think if there's any designers listening, they would be curious too, because I'm curious.
Yeah.
When you're starting a project, do you start off with just like the typical like brief process where you're talking to,
Yeah.
client on whatever the project is, understanding like the brand or whatever the project is?
Yeah. Yeah, like what's the process?
Yeah, I guess what does that look like maybe at a high level?
So for brand stuff, it's pretty easy. And I found like the last couple clients I've gone through are just like, this is so great. Like,
Yeah.
I've gotten good feedback on this. But basically what we do is we do like this, I don't know, half an hour long call, like meet and greet, and just have them like talk about their business, like talk about problems they have, talk about what they want to be, what they don't want to be, like what works, what's working for their business, what doesn't. And then a lot of that kind of gets distilled into, to me, like for a brand, for example, like a lot of that gets distilled into, I try to just make these like lists of words and like, so like I'll do like a vertical list of words and then each one I'll like write the definition of the words and I'll try to find the themes in the commonalities in all the definitions. The definitions kind of expose all of these new words. So like, and then I've kind of used AI for this too, which is helpful because then when you start looking at all the definitions in kind of this word cloud, it gives you like 10 different images of like a lock, for example. If you look in the lock, you can kind of like go down this definition rabbit hole. It branches out to all these interesting things. And sometimes it ends up circling back to like the beginning, but that really helps like generate meaningful imagery that you can use as the foundation of the identity. Which is, I've always found that to be like a very helpful process to like find or discover, I guess, their logo.
And then I feel like once it clicks, there's like a
Yeah.
I've only done one brand project.
Yeah.
It was actually with Jed a little bit.
Cool.
Things kind of fit together, and
Yeah.
it's whoa. I don't know. That was one of the coolest experiences I've
Yeah,
had.
it's fun.
Personally.
Like that kind of happened with Pierre on the Bitcoin bond
Mhm.
company. We were talking about all these ideas, and the initial mood board or type of inspiration was all like these foreign banking families, like the Rothschilds and
Yeah.
Medici's and all these like big families. But as we were looking at them, we were just like, this doesn't feel right. Like this feels too European, or not necessarily European. I mean, but it was like just doesn't feel American. And so that sort of discovery was like, oh, okay, we need to like look at American inspiration. So like old American banks, like old. And so then we discovered like, oh, some of them use like these like Greek symbols or Greek statues or Greek things. And then here's the typography they use and all this stuff. So
And actually, real quick,
Yeah.
pause, not to interrupt
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Is all of this happening on a call, or is it like async?
It's kind of async. Like I do weekly meeting calls on these branding projects. So like 4 or 5 calls. But then we're in a signal group sharing stuff back and forth.
Oh,
So
wow.
eventually like I was like doing some like Pinterest research on that. And I sent him like the Lady Justice,
Yeah.
and we were both kind of like, I think this is it, and that was like very early on. But I still explored like, I don't know, like probably 100 different variations. Like, so I explored like all these different Bs, like because Bitcoin bond is like a cool double B.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like that was like just a very fun collaborative process where it wasn't like a linear flow, but like we started with what's the company like? And then we started going down these different rabbit holes and like kind of narrowing in on direction over time. But every client's kind of different, but
Mhm.
that was just a very fun process. And I'm very happy with the outcome. So.
And it helps that Pierre's a friend, so probably made that
Oh, for sure.
easier.
I mean, I do feel like every time I work with clients, they kind of become friends
Oh, that's awesome.
because it's like you're kind of spending like a lot of concentrated time with someone, and you're working on something that like they care about a lot. I feel like when people work on the same thing and they're like a lot of energy is spent like caring about this thing, kind of bonds you. So I don't know, it's an interesting thing, but
Well, especially on the brand side, which is like the soul of the company almost, I feel.
yeah.
So that's
Well, I wouldn't say it's soul. I say it's like more of the name. It's like
Ah.
naming a child, and it's like giving birth it's not giving birth. I don't want to do that, but like it's more. Yeah, I would say naming a child is probably the best thing.
Child, yeah.
But it's a little bit more than that though, because you're trying to find the DNA and you're constructing this like genetic material in a way that will really like become something much larger than it is.
Yeah.
In the initial stages. So
actually related to that,
Yeah.
how do you, in terms of like getting bigger than it is at day one or whenever the process is done, how do you think about, for example, Open Secret? You're working the project,
Yeah.
quote unquote handoff.
Yeah.
Anthony and Marks definitely don't have a brand designer on the team, or even a designer, period.
Yeah.
So how do you think about like making it scalable so they don't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good example. Like we generated a lot of different layouts and typography options for them. So there's a lot of, I don't know if the right word is like training material or like training prompts, but like I feel like they have a lot to look at now. So like if you just take a screenshot of it and if you're vibe coding, you can just give that to the LLM and
Wow.
I think it can get them pretty close. But I mean, I do think it is hard to maintain brand quality without a designer. I think the more you invest in the brand, the less you'll have to pay for a designer later.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but at the same time, a lot of these like foundational brand exercises, they're not really ready to bring a full-time designer on. So it's a tough spot.
I mean, maybe that's a case for hiring someone like you on a smaller base, like one-off things, like, hey, we need to do this thing.
Yeah, I mean that,
or
that
even just
happens.
retainer or something like that.
That happens for sure. So I think it's ideal to have a designer making stuff later on.
Yeah.
But it's not essential. But I think we try, like when we do the handoff, we try to give them enough to where they don't feel like, oh shoot, like I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to continue this stuff going forward. But another point I'll say on this that's actually more important than like the actual visual application of all these styles is actually like living out the design or living out the brand principles that we established. So like if you make this like luxury brand, you don't like wear hoodies to conferences. You should
But like
not do that.
Unchained is not going to be wearing anymore.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I think like you should have these things and you're like, I actually lived this out. Like we recently did this branding project for clams. It's this cool accounting, you know it? Yeah. So it's a Bitcoin accounting software. And so we established this like cool like wealth core brand, and the merch suggestions are like a polo shirt, not a t-shirt or like a hoodie, but it's like or a really nice sweater, not like, you know. So anyways, like I think just the part of what taste is like doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons. So yeah, so that's kind of how we think about it too, where like you have to live out and be consistent with this identity. So we try to make identities that are close enough. They're like aspirational, but like they're close enough to what these people can actually do and like actually make it live and make it feel authentic. So,
Holistically, not just kind of
not just like on the screen.
Yeah. Do you feel like taste is something? I mean, it's like it's a word that's so hot. Everyone's talking about taste and craft and all this stuff. Do you feel like that's something you can learn, or do you think it's something that's unique to certain people versus others?
Oh, you can definitely learn taste. I think like some people it's easier for them and some people it's harder, but I think understanding how things are made and like why some things are good and why they're bad or why they were made in that way is like a good way to start developing taste. But I think people can definitely learn it and like, or they can definitely get better than where they are now.
Yeah.
Like you can definitely improve your taste. So I think most human beings in general should care about taste a lot more and think like, I just think part of the human experience is being able to appreciate goodness, beauty, and truth and actually like engage with those things on a deeper level. So every human being has the capacity to do this. So I think that more people should actually try to cultivate those things or cultivate their sensibilities to sort of like perceive goodness, beauty, and truth more than they do now.
I guess, it's curiosity and then maybe exposure, like repeated exposure, curiosity.
Yeah. But it requires effort too. Like, and it's hard to do new things. Talking to an engineer and saying, oh, you got to learn how to appreciate beauty and learn what taste is, it's like challenging. It's like as challenging as telling a designer, oh, you have to learn what like code is.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Which I feel optimistic. I feel like we're well positioned going forward.
Yeah.
Like even I'm just thinking about my job at Foundry. A lot of it is kind of converging with more like traditional PM roles.
Yeah.
And then making sure you have the taste to talk to an LLM or something.
Yeah. To make it happen.
Yeah, to make it happen.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think what's another way to develop taste?
Exposure.
I think just like being a craftsman takes a long time too. Like so having like kind of a longer term mindset on it. Also, maybe another way to say this is trying to do physical things, leather work or woodworking is probably a good like analog way to learn this. Because a lot of people are like, okay, well, how do I develop taste like online or whatever? But maybe you need to build something in the real world and like learn how to be a craftsman in like a physical way. It's like a little bit easier to kind of like develop those skills.
You mean like from maybe like a meta version of that? It's like you're understanding I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of like understanding how things like it's easier to see when, let's say you're trying to make a wallet or something.
Yeah.
It's very easy to see like why it's bad when you try to make it yourself. Like, because you see like, oh, my stitches are not right, or my like fold is not right, or my cut is like goes too far or whatever. So like, I don't know. I did a lot of leather work, and so I'm like,
oh, nice.
I like it. So, but I remember like when I was doing it, it was like very formative in the sense of my first couple of times I was doing it, I would like cut, and my body had this like physical impulse to hit Command Z. Like undo. Yeah. It was like the strangest thing. I cannot like I don't think I'll ever forget that. Wow. So I think doing physical craft work, you know, whatever it is, like metal or whatever, but like I think it helps you think about things better. So yeah. And I think also exposing yourself to like high quality things is good.
Hey, just a really quick break to tell you about the Studio 21 newsletter. If you're interested in Bitcoin and design, every month I highlight a few key pieces of Bitcoin or design related news or education. I think you're really going to find it valuable. So if you're interested, take a look. Go to sahilc.com/newsletter, give it a subscribe, and look forward to seeing you there. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, and actually related to that, I wanted to ask. I'm curious myself. Exposing yourself to new stuff. How are you learning about new things? It could be as boring as like tools, or it could be just inspiration, that kind of stuff. Is it like Twitter? Is it podcasts? You probably don't have time.
I can't. I don't know why. I just can't listen to podcasts.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like I don't.
Not audio.
I don't have a lot of time for podcasts, but
Yeah.
I don't really find. So, what do you mean by new things? Is it like new design inspiration, or like I don't know? I'm kind of.
Yeah, I think it's probably both of those. So one
Okay.
is design inspiration, because I see a lot of that on Twitter, where I see something cool, I save it I use it to my mind. You might have heard that. And I just dump inspiration there for future use. So that's one. And then I guess.
Do you look back at that?
Okay, that's a really good question. I do, because so let's say I was doing that branding project, or in the future if I'm doing that, or let's say I'm like I need a specific type of thing.
Yeah.
I just search my mind and I actually do that. And
That's great.
sometimes honestly, even just like my mind is such a relaxing place.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll literally just scroll it and I'm like, wow, this is
That's awesome.
cool. And there's some stuff from yours in there actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do save a lot of your stuff in
That's
my mind.
cool. Okay.
So that's really fun.
So, what's my process for discovery? So, it's kind of more localized in the sense of I'm not really discovering that many new things that aren't relevant to the projects I'm doing.
Okay, got it.
So it's like I just don't really have enough bandwidth to do that, I guess, which is kind of that goes back to that point earlier. I was like, well, I did a lot of stuff last year, so next year I have to do less stuff. So maybe that will give me more room to actually discover new things.
Yeah.
But which would probably be good. Probably make me more creative and like have better output. But what I've been doing recently is like really just trying to dive deep on what is like the visual or what is the aesthetic deep dive I should do for Open Secret versus the Bitcoin Bond Company versus like OpenNode or whatever. So like all these different companies like need different things. And so I have these like, it's basically Pinterest is like, I have these boards that I'm like assembling and their algorithm's amazing for finding similar aesthetic vibes basically. So a thing about Twitter, I don't discover a lot of new things on Twitter because I use Arc browser.
Yeah.
And I have removed the For You feed.
Oh.
So I only see the For You or I only see the following feed.
Okay.
So there's not that much new stuff coming into my feed. It's just who I follow. So I don't know, maybe that's not good for discovering new things, but
you're not following designers and that kind of
I follow a couple, but
oh wow.
I want to limit my time on X or
Yes.
Twitter. So I think that's interesting.
I will say my quick like life hack there, and this is so nerdy,
I want to hear it.
I don't have Twitter on my phone. I literally have a 15-minute calendar reminder every day, and I
That's
only
good.
give myself 15 minutes. I scroll through Twitter like continuously 15 minutes. I bookmark stuff, and then I have an assistant later that moves the bookmarks to like Pocket, and then once a week I spend an hour just going through bookmarks.
Oh wow,
and it's a process that I've just like
that's
used
interesting.
over the years, and it works so well. Especially because I have things like Design Club or the newsletter. Where it's like I have to do that.
Yeah,
somebody has to curate it.
Huh.
So that's how I make it work.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And same with newsletters, right? There's so many like design newsletters, things like that. I have the same thing. I have an assistant who just pulls out links, saves them all in Pocket, and then once a week I just an hour a week. That's it.
That's pretty good. And you don't go outside that?
I don't go outside that. Yeah. So I literally just once a week open up. I use Raindrop, the same thing as Pocket, but
interesting.
It's all in there.
Wow.
I just process it once a week.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm much less disciplined than that.
That's fair, honestly.
But no, I mean, I think, man, that's making me think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's kind of, I like that. I want to try something like that. I mean, but at the same time, maybe I will be able to do stuff like that more in the next year as I kind of like, I operate more on like an abundance mindset rather than scarcity and like saying yes to so many things, and just being very like choosy with the projects I do.
100%.
I mean, honestly though, I'm happy with what I did last year. Like, so it's hard to really change things, but I don't know. Maybe I'll have more time to optimize like how I engage with Twitter.
No, that's fair.
But
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I guess kind of in that vein, we
Yeah.
can start to wrap up. I think
Yeah.
we're both exhausted. It's like I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for you, but like I think.
Dude, I feel great.
Oh, you do? Okay, awesome, great. I also feel great. Definitely, 100% feel.
Dude,
the
you can
best.
feel however you want. I don't
No,
care.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, like what's? I think we talked about this a little bit. Weird. What's next for you and
Yeah.
Finite Supply? Like what's coming up next?
So one thing I really want to do this year is build a product. Probably not a Bitcoin product.
Oh,
This was like one little line in my annual report on Twitter. But I want to solve a problem for like American workers that are building real things. I want to solve that problem with like really nice tech. And I want it to be a very painful problem that they have
mhm.
and kind of small, like a small scope problem or like a tightly scoped problem. And I want there to be like a lot of quantifiable savings from that problem. So I've been talking to like some construction management guys and just asking them like what's just the worst thing about your job? So I've been like kind of doing some like early research on that because I don't know, like I love Bitcoin, but at the same time it's very digital. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, people are building stuff right now and their lives are horrible
Yeah.
because and I think the problems are solvable.
And it's not sexy to
No.
tackle this problem. So none of the
No one cares
hot
about 'em.
designers actually.
Yeah. Which I'm like, I kind of just love those types of problems. So anyways, I've been thinking and talking about that a little bit. So that's kind of something I'm interested in.
You know who also thinks like that?
Yeah.
Our friend Justin Moon.
Justin Moon.
He
Yep.
loves that stuff. So
Yep. Paul Miller too.
Paul Miller. Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah. Perfect.
yeah,
That's a perfect
so-
match made in heaven.
I've actually been talking to Paul about
Good.
this.
Good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, Justin, Paul, and I are pretty like-minded on this idea. But
There's also, sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but there's one more person online who mentioned this. I think it was Brett at Design Joy.
yeah,
Was basically like free idea.
Yeah.
Go talk to all these people, build
Yeah.
them like a.
Dude.
It's not hard to make these websites. Just do
No,
that. And
I know.
make a ton of money. So, but yeah.
Yeah,
no,
I
what
mean,
you're saying.
even if you like, yeah. So I don't really know what the opportunities are like yet, but it's sort of like I just know that there's pain points.
Yeah.
And I want to try to solve a problem, because so many Bitcoin projects are solutions in search of a problem.
Oh my God. Yes.
Where it's like, yeah, I have this great idea to do X, Y, and Z, and then you bring it to people, and they're like, well, but I don't really have this problem. Like, so
Yeah.
it's like backwards. So I just want to cleanse the palette and build something that's like, guys, I have this problem so bad. I just need anything to help, you know?
Yeah.
So-
It's got to feel amazing.
Yeah, I would love to feel that. So
I feel that at a micro level sometimes at Foundry, where sometimes you'll talk to customers and they'll be like, I'm exporting this report 70 times. I have to click this button
Yeah.
and do that. And you literally feel the pain. And
Yeah.
to me, that's like the most exciting part of the job is when
Yeah.
you feel that pain and
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, I just fixed that.
yeah,
And they're like,
dude, and so many, this kind of ties into the AI topic, which
Yeah.
I have this very strong viewpoint that human beings should be using computers like much less
Huh.
than they use them now. And AI is going to be a perfect way to delegate robot tasks to robots.
yeah.
Right now, like I think people are just kind of used to like using these 25 interfaces in a day
Uh-huh.
and all the cognitive load that comes with that crap.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about going through your email. So let's say you have 20 unread emails. Each one is a different website when you open it.
Yeah.
And you go through that in like, I don't know, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. And it's like,
And you're context switching constantly.
dude, every single one is presenting different problems.
Yeah.
A lot of emails are like risky nowadays because there's like spam. So I think it's that a robot should be doing that for you or someone else should be doing that for you.
I was just going to say the way I think about it, like getting someone on Upwork
Yeah.
is, and not to be degrading it at all, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like a human AI
Yeah. I mean,
to do the email process.
I think humans just should not be doing it. It's
Yeah.
like they're made for more than that.
100%.
And we're used to using computers in this way, and I just think it's so dumb. So,
Yeah.
anyways, like if I could bring some of that thinking to construction, where people are like, I'm building a hospital, and I have to look through these documents and these PDFs and all this crap for like product specifications. It's like, no, you should not be doing that. You should be freeing up your time to like go build the hospital more efficiently or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where my head is at in terms of like new things. Obviously still running the agency and helping make like good brands and new product, like refreshed product experiences is like bread and butter. But I do want to build another product of my own. So yeah,
That came out of nowhere. I didn't expect that. That's awesome.
yeah, saved it for the end.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, yeah, thanks for chatting with me. Yeah, I don't know. I always walk away super. I haven't told you this, but like, I always walk away super inspired whenever we chat about anything. I'm like, yes,
Amazing.
Like even the other day at the Whale Lounge, we were talking about something. And I was like, I made a ton of notes when we left the conversation. And I was
Oh,
like,
awesome.
I'm gonna go home and just do a bunch of stuff. So
I appreciate it, man.
No, it's fun. But yeah, thanks for coming on.
Dude.
I feel like I have so much more I want to talk about. I'll come by sometime. We'll
Yeah, I mean,
do it again.
we could do it again for sure, round 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for having me. It's been awesome.
Awesome. Cool. Well, have fun. We're gonna get back to the conference, I guess.
Let's do it.
Maybe the pool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, see ya.
All right, man. Bye.
Okay, that's it for this walk and talk conversation on Bitcoin design. Hope you found something interesting from it. Hope you got some interesting nuggets. If you liked it, and if you want to, feel free to give it a review, share it with someone else who might find it interesting. And genuinely, if you have any feedback, I really, really want to hear about it, positive or negative. So find me on Twitter at SahilC0, and I look forward to seeing you next time.